is at George Washington University. So Richard and I have been sponsoring an analytics project with them. So there's a recent rule change, the pitch clock really sped up the game. They got some information on that. And then the debate was fan experience versus pitcher injuries and they even get into performance. So Scott.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. We can go ahead. Kim, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, let's start our presentation. And hi everyone, we are Group 5, and today our presentation is about the impact of the MLB pitch clock. And so, before let's first come to understand the problem we want to discover. So the pitch clock was introduced in MLB to address the slow pace of play and in order to decrease in time between pitches, action games, and release games. A year since its implementation, the pitch clock has sparked a lively debate among fans, players, and pundits. So there are some advocates think its success in speeding up the game and enforcing a brisk tempo, which align well with the contemporary demand for fast-paced sport entertainment. And on the contrary, detractors express concerns about this new rule. They argue that the imposition of strict time constraints to pressure pitchers and batters, which potentially impacting the quality of play. And therefore, they come with a central issue, which is what is the actual impact of the pitch clock? Okay, so before I introduce our executive summary, I would like to explain the pitch clock rule for you. So the new rule of the pitch clock in MLB for 2023 are straightforward. Pitchers have 15 seconds to throw a pitch with base empty and 20 seconds with runner on base. There is a 30-second timer between batters, and the pitcher must begin his motion to pitch before the timer expires, or else the batter get an automatic ball. And similarly, the batter must be ready by an 8-second mark, or an automatic strike is called. And there are also some specific laws for pitcher and batter timeouts and disengagement per plate appearance. Okay, after I explain the rules, I would like to introduce the 4 executive points. So the first one, fan engagement. We find that we want to find the changes in fan experience, such as in-game attendance and TV readings. And due to our analysis, we find that fans were not dissatisfied with the entertainment product. And then the game length. It is obviously that we find the game length actually reduced due to the introduction of pitch clock. And also the pitcher injury. We want to say any relevance of the pitch clock with the pitcher injuries. And based on our analysis, we find the injury of pitchers are not solely related to the pitch clock. And the last point is pitcher performance. We would like to say, is there any improvement of the pitcher performance due to the pitch clock? And we finally find that the pitcher performance is not inhibited by the pitch clock. And here, let me invite Naga to talk into details.
Yeah. Hi, this is Naga. In order to more fully analyze the impact of timers on MLB games, we collected and analyzed fan participation data. Use the number of fan participation in 2021 and 2022 to compare with 2023. We drew the histogram about to illustrate. As can be seen in the figure, the number of fan participation in 2021 is at least about 45 million. Although the number of participation in 2022 has increased from 2021, but there is still a significant difference in 9 million in participation rate compared to 2023. even though there is an effect in COVID in 2021 and 2022, we can definitely say that fans were satisfied with the product. Next slide.
2021, well, we started in 2021 because 2020 was COVID shortened, so it would throw a lot of the numbers off. And then I think you'd see it in the attendance, 2021, there was some hesitation to get back in the ballpark.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, that was interesting. Go ahead.
And we have also analyzed after implementing the pitch clock timer whether that game length time is reduced or not. Because many fans were complaining about that and they are leaving the grounds before the match was getting finished. So, and we came to a conclusion that the game length of the MLB game is significantly reduced to 2 hours 42 2.42 hours from something like 3 hours 10 minutes and 3 hours 20 minutes. So we can definitely say that after implementing the pitcher clock, the average game length has been decreased, and which gave more engagement with the fans, which we have seen in the player slides. So I feel they were satisfied with the product. And after this, we also want to know whether the players are getting injured after implementing this rule. But even though if we see the mild injuries were not that much increased when compared to 2021 to 2021, 2022 to 2023, and moderate injuries were also the same. Now, we have a small growth in severe injuries, even though we have, but it's not that significant to tell that these injuries happen only due to the pitch clock, because there have been many other factors as well, right? So according to our analysis, we cannot say that these injuries happen only due to the pitch clock timer.
Yeah,
And
yeah. And when you see past here, this blue is an average of the past 2 years. So that's what we meant by that. So thank you for that background info.
Yeah.
Well, actually, one more slide here.
Yeah, and we also compared the pitch tempo between the past 2021 and 2022 to the present 2023. In the past, we don't have any pitcher rule, and we have compared when the bases are empty and when a player is on base. When we see when no players are in any other base, we can see a significant decrease in 3.2 seconds in pitch tempo. And when we compare when a player is on base, we can see a significant 5-second difference between pitch tempo, which we can say that from this slide we can say that the game length has been decreased as pitch tempo has been decreased, which everything made a significant effect and make the game engaging.
Yeah, thank you. So that was good. We can all see that, these last few slides gave a good amount of background info showing us that, the effects of the pitch clock, it did decrease game time. It did decrease time to throw the pitch. So what we wanted to do here, sort of the point of our class, is to do a little bit more of an analytics dive into it. So we'll try and keep it, understandable in that we don't need to show every method we tried, but we have a few that worked out and we thought were really exciting. So to start, we did a method called clustering.
Clustering first.
Yes. So what clustering is essentially we took the attributes of every player. So, we all know ERA and we all know how many walks a pitcher allows. And I think by now everyone sort of knows that the WAR statistic exists, wins above replacement. So we sort of took all of those stats, we had about 30 different stats about each different pitcher, and we chose 285 pitchers. They were the ones that pitched in all 3 years, so we had enough data on them. And what we did is there's sort of an analytics method, something we've learned in school, where it looks at each of those attributes and it can group them based off of who they are most similar to, based off of their performance and those statistics. So off of that, we grouped them into 5 different groups. And this is solely based off of their pitch tempo, so how fast they were throwing the ball, or how much they had to adjust from when the pitch clock was introduced. So we sort of invented our own statistic as to show how long it used to take them to throw the ball, and now with the pitch clock, it takes them, obviously shorter because they have to hurry it up a bit. No waiting around to throw the ball. And then also all of their player statistics are involved here. So what you can see here is the first two of the 5 clusters. This purple cluster here we call the pitch quick, allow runs quick cluster. So this is sort of the Adam Wainwright, Carlos Carrasco type pitchers. They didn't really take a long time to throw the ball because they've been in the league a while. They're mature. They're veterans. They don't waste time, dilly-dallying on the mound. They throw the ball quick. But unfortunately for them, they allowed a lot of
ages. Do you have the ages of this cluster? Like, do you have an average age of this stuff? Did it skew? Like, was it all old pitchers in that first group?
Yeah, so actually, for the 5 clusters, there wasn't a big difference in age. I don't have the exact number, but the ages were pretty consistent across. That we didn't find that it was a huge difference. This cluster did tend to have a few more of those older pitchers, especially the ones at the end of their career. But the ages surprisingly was not a huge difference in the clusters. So that was the first cluster here. And on the right here, you can see this is our biggest cluster. These are the average pitchers, the good pitchers, and they kind of had to adjust to the pitch clock. Nothing really noteworthy over there. Kevin Gossman, we know he's a good pitcher. Gregory Soto is a average reliever. So nothing too significant for cluster 1, but we really felt we learned a lot from these next 3 clusters here, especially the 2 on the right, which we'll get to. We see on the left there was a pretty similar cluster to the yellow one on the last slide, except they didn't have to adjust to the pitch clock at all. I'm a Phillies fan. I've watched Zach Eflin a lot. He's pretty business-like on the mound. He doesn't take a lot of time between his pitches, so he didn't have to adjust a lot to the pitch clock. But what we really thought we learned from the clustering were these 2 on the right here, which we called the large adjustment clusters. And on one side, you have the green, the pitchers who adjusted a lot. They used to take a long time to throw, but they reduced their pitch tempo, but they still pitch well. So Devin Williams is a very good reliever for the Brewers. AJ Minter is a good reliever for the Braves. And then you look to the right, same sort of player profile in that, you just want them to throw the ball because they're taking forever. I hate watching them take, 3 minutes between pitches. I'm a big fan of this pitch clock. And these guys did not adjust well. Vince Velasquez, also, as a Phillies fan, it's been rough watching him for a long time. And Lucas Giolito sort of falling off a cliff here. So, yeah, those are sort of the clusters we found. Yeah, so not to dwell on that too much, but so our goal of that was grouping pitchers. And then from that, what can we learn out of these clusters? So our next slide here is going to show we have these clusters. Is that associated with an injury? Is that associated with this apparent spike in Tommy John surgeries that people were really worried about? And it turns out, just based off of our clustering, no, there's no association with the pitchers who struggle. There's no association with the old pitchers. There's no association with just the average Joe. You can see here, everyone's, there's just a few Tommy Johns or rotator cuff injuries or like these severe injuries you can imagine are the extreme, out for a season type injuries here. And just being in a certain cluster didn't make you any more susceptible to this injury. And this was sort of a reason why we wanted to take an even deeper analytical look and see what else we can learn beyond sort of the surface level statistics here. So just our next slide here. I know just from watching this presentation, a lot of the people here are way more intelligent on baseball than just everyone else in our class at GW. But just to remind everyone here, wins above replacement. Wins above replacement. We're going to use these stats in our next statistical model. So I wanted to give a quick refresher here. Wins above replacement is sort of a cumulative, all stats involved number that tells you how many more wins a player contributes to your team as opposed to a replacement level player, which means like a AAA player. So just know if that stat is higher, it means the player is doing well. And then the next two stats, xERA and xFIP, are I think everyone knows what ERA is, earned run average. FIP is fielding independent pitching, so it's ERA but without any plays that involve fielders, so it's like home runs and strikeouts and such. And then what the X means is they use StatCast stats, so they look at exit velocity and launch angle and all that sort of stuff, and based off of that they predict the player's ERA, they predict their xFIP, their FIP, and that's what the X means. So just you can think of that as ERA and FIP for the sake of this model, and the lower is better for those stats. Walks per nine, how many walks a player allows per 9 innings. That one's pretty straightforward. Obviously, for that one, lower is better. Don't want to be walking players. And then at the bottom there, perceived velocity. Also, you can just think of as velocity. It's a little bit different in that it's what speed the pitch looks like when you're standing in the batter's box as opposed to what the actual pitch speed is. So it's very similar. These are very nuanced little details, but so these are the stats we'll be using on our next slide. So what we did here, what I'm about to show you is what is called a decision tree. And it's pretty easy to understand if you just follow the rules, which I'll show you right here. What happens is in this classification decision tree, we are going to imagine a pitcher's at the top, all right? And you make a decision going each direction based off of their actual, performance statistics. And like a Plinko thing, it'll drop them down into the bin at the bottom, predicting, will they get Tommy John? Will they not get Tommy John? Will they get a rotator cuff injury? Will they, be able to keep pitching this season? And this was like a model based off of some Python programming that we did. But we really liked it because we get to show you a picture, and it's pretty clear to understand. And just know that if you see right here, this testing accuracy, that means with data that this model was not made with, it didn't know any of these pitchers beforehand, you can throw any random pitcher in there, and 81.5% of the time, it will predict whether they get an actual severe. So just looking here, we don't need to go into every little detail. We have sort of this path on the right we did want to highlight. And so it starts up there at the top. We talked about xFIP, so just think FIP. And when it says past, it means the years before the pitch clock. So think a pitcher that used to, higher than 4.5 xFIP means a pretty not great pitcher. All right. So think of a bad pitcher in the past. All right. Next attribute here is velocity. All right. So a bad pitcher in the past with a high velocity. All right. Just stay with me here because I'm just throwing a lot of things together. And then also used to take a very long time to throw the ball. So before the pitch clock, this pitcher took forever. They weren't very good, and they just threw the ball really hard wherever. I think we can all imagine that watching our teams. I know, there's some random reliever that comes in the 8th inning and just chucks the ball randomly, and we don't know what's happening. So imagine that kind of pitcher. they actually fell into this category based off of our analysis that they should be predicted to have a severe injury. And that could make sense, you know, they don't have as much recovery time now between pitches. They're sort of wild throwers. They're trying to throw too hard. And this was sort of a theory that we had had before, and seeing the actual analysis sort of prove it into this box here, all the way in the bottom right here. 100% of the guesses that were made in this box to have a severe injury, 100% of those pitchers actually had a severe injury. So we were pretty excited. Obviously, we're not happy these people got hurt, but we were proud that the analysis sort of proved proved this theory. And you know, it's very interesting. You know, people were worried that players could get injured from the pitch clock, but from what Kim mentioned before, this isn't because the pitchers had to adjust to the pitch clock. This is because they adjusted what we could say is almost wrong. They have less time to recover, but they're still trying to throw the ball as hard as they can. Like that kind of guy. Obviously, you know, that's not very smart. You probably change how you do things, because that's what leads to injury. And that's what was predicted for here. So that's it. We're going to talk about with the tree. Obviously, there's other sort of paths you can take here, but that one had to do with the pitch clock itself. Just two more little slides about sort of analytics idea that we had. We just wanted to see if sort of the players on extremes had to do anything with the pitch clock change, because on average, player performance did not really change much, is what we found. So we looked at just the top 25 and bottom 25, sort of in each category. So, you know, we had 300 pitchers. So this is just the best 25 in reducing their ERA actually had, you know, a pretty small adjustment to the pitch clock. And then when you look over to the right here, the largest increases in ERA, so the players who struggled the most tended to have to take to make a larger adjustment to the pitch clock. So it sort of shows that, you know, it's not a big difference, but being one of those players who used to take a long time to throw and used to waste time between pitches did make it a little bit more difficult, but not extremely. And it could have been overcome, but if you didn't overcome it, you were more likely to be one of those players who used to take a long time to throw, if that makes sense. And we have just very similar, another stat. This is the exact same layout here. Instead of ERA, we have walks per nine. Sort of the idea, oh, you know, if I have to rush, will I lose my command? You know, is it worth the pitch clock if I can't find the strike zone anymore? And this one shows a similar thing in that, you know, those kind of pitchers who just took forever and made baseball games go 5 hours, even though it was, you know, a 2-0 game. These guys had to make a larger adjustment to the pitch clock, and they struggled. Madison Bumgarner, Urias Familia, they're not great pitchers, and it got worse for them with the introduction of the pitch clock. All right, so this is our analysis. I hope it was clear. Didn't throw too many numbers at you, but Kim can wrap it up. We have a few ideas about what we learned from the analysis.
Scott, this is
Yes.
Richard. We need to wrap up because we've got one more presentation that I need to get in before noon. So
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. Sorry.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, the data
Nice work.
visualizations and visualizations in the graphs were really good.
So we sponsor or?
Yeah, we sponsored it. Yeah, we won the
We've got a local grant
remember
that gave
future of the game.
the future of the game category. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone
Yeah,
for
thanks.
having us. We're really happy to get to talk to everyone.
Thanks, Scott and the rest. Appreciate you guys. I'm sorry to rush you, but,
No, no worry. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Thank y'all.
Research project.
Thank you.
Graduating.
Cool, yeah.
let's see if I can get my screen up here.
That's what I'm thinking too, yeah. What, next year, and then you gotta be careful with causation and correlation, you know?
Robocop behind the instead of
Yeah,